So welcome to OTD 2030. If you've not joined us before, OTD and Keys to the Door is an innovative and exciting inclusive movement which merges revolution with resourcefulness and linking bright minds, as we'll see today, from across the globe who are passionately dedicated to making changes in the lives of elders or older adults, loved ones. That's a term we keep talking around how we talk about people. Our main focus is for people living with dementia, their loved ones and supporters. Open the Doors are swiftly materializing into 500 plus visionary change makers wanting to make a difference. Open the Doors welcomes all voices, all change makers, all people from around the world who are committed to effecting positive change. Keys to the Door, which is what today, is a monthly online panel discussion with the aim of coming and contributing to thought-provoking discussions, innovative thoughts, ideas, successes, and lessons learned that are central to making change to the lives of older adults, loved ones, elders, supporting the mission to open the doors by 2030. Today is about sharing insights and experiences of our own, our organizational journeys about inclusive communities. And we do have some really amazing speakers today, like amazing speakers literally globally from all over the world. So some people are in nighttime, some people in morning, some people middle of the day. So wherever you are, we welcome you. There's just a few housekeeping things. Just keep your cameras on, but can you please mute your mics? I can see people taking calls and living their lives and working. So we can put our phones on mute. Use the chat for comments and put any questions you have for our speakers, and hopefully we'll get around to answering them. Usually there's so many questions we don't, but we welcome comments and questions at any point. And please don't interrupt the speakers. Use the chat because we want to listen to what everybody's got to say and really value the people in the room. So I'm going to hand over to Josephine, who's going to lead the panel.
Awesome. Thanks, Lisa. Hello, everyone. I'm super delighted, actually. We have a great list for you of folks that are going to contribute to our conversation today on inclusive communities. I will introduce each person. They'll give you a wave, pardon me. And then I'll just call the person to introduce themselves and also share with our viewers and our community what is an inclusive community. And I'm really so curious to hear all of their definitions and insight on that. So without further ado, I might as well go right into it so that we can hear as much as we can from everybody else who's here. So Dolph, just give a little wave. Dolph's a dementia consultant for Mensch Method and Care Farms that I'm sure he'll tell you about in the Netherlands. Bryce from Schlegel Villages, Riverside Glen in Guelph, Ontario, my fellow Canadian, and Canada won that day. We saw each other the first time. Canada. Martin, Executive Director of Belong Villages, an inclusive community. Sounds pretty amazing. Suellen, yes, Western Canadian Lead for Eden Alternative and the CEO of Emeritus of Sherbrooke Community Centre. And then we've got Pat from Hope Rennovations, Triangle Home Health Foundation. We've got Jill Woodward, who is a consultant, who was the former CEO of Elizabeth Knox Home and Hospital in Auckland, New Zealand. Dr. Rodney Jilek from Community Homes Australia, give us a wave. And Nicole Smith from Community Homes Australia. So go right back up to the top, and Dolph, I'll give you the floor. We look forward to you introducing yourself to us and hearing what is your inclusive community definition or philosophy or whatever it is. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Josephine. My name is Dolph Becx from the Netherlands. I am a certified dementia consultant. And as just said, I work mostly for care farms, which you should see as sort of rural care, daycare organizations, in which we try not only to support people being at a daycare, but also trying to improve their life at home, because they go at home in the evening. They do not come each and every day. And one of the things that we are trying to work on is on inclusive community. So I'm quite happy to share some thoughts about it from my point of view anyway. And I think when we talk about inclusive communities, we are talking about some sort of golden layer of civilization. That's what I would like to mention and give it a name, because it's something that is above even normal civilization. It's a way of getting involvement from everyone, no one excluded, no, even not people in dementia, which is harder than you think in the first place. It's meaningful interaction and respect for everybody's thought, possibilities, and shortcomings. It is about willing to give and to take. And if you are talking about dementia in detail, then there might even be some sort of a diamond layer in civilization, because it needs respectful interaction, no matter how people think and in what way they can be confused or whatever. It are people who gave once and who can't give anymore, but we have to give that what they gave us before. And they are now dependent and sometimes even quite demanding, but we have to love them and we have to take care of them and we have to offer them a life in dignity. That is my comment on it. Thank you.
Amazing, Dolph. Amazing. Oh my gosh. I'll hand it over to you. Who's sorry, I started making notes because I couldn't help myself. Bryce, floor is yours.
Thank you. So yes, I'm Bryce McBane. Been the general manager of the village of Riverside Glen, a Schlegel village in Guelph, Ontario for the past 10 plus years. We've been on a culture change journey for years at Schlegel Villages. We did open the doors to a secure neighborhood in 2017 with much success. With the spirit of inclusivity in our village, I've asked this question to our residents living with dementia and without. And some of their feedback is that inclusivity means to them family, friendship, relationships, caring about everyone, kindness, supporting us to spread out and share with others, sharing our talents, growing with others, recognizing everyone has something to offer, sitting and listening to each other, talking to me, not about me, asking for my opinion, all nationalities, people of different religions, genders coming together, home, feeling involved in the community, giving back and helping others, helping anyone at any time, meeting the needs of others. And lastly, I heard from a resident living with dementia, Alzheimer's and Parkinson's today, that skydived in 2023. She said in one word, it means love. And I couldn't have said it better. I thought that was great elder wisdom that I wanted to share with you all today. But in the chat, I said it's about connection, and I believe it's something we can all offer. So thank you for having me as a part of today.
Thank you so much, Bryce. Yeah, that's exactly what I put in the chat. Love. I tell you, it's the root of it all. Because all those other things are possible with love, I feel like. Martin, you are up. You've got the floor. Please introduce yourself and share with us.
Hi, everybody.
Thank
you, Josephine. I'm Martin Vicks, Chief Executive of an organisation called Belong. We're UK based and we run care villages, and our particular care village model comprises of a small household residential model, and we predominantly care for people living with dementia. But in our villages, we also have independent living apartments and a range of communal facilities that are also open to the public. So we have open access to the public, and that creates a real vibrancy in the villages. And we also run home care and daycare. And our latest village includes a fully integrated children's nursery at the heart of village life. An inclusive community to us, and I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of repetition between people there, because there's a lot of agreement, I'm sure. But just in the context of what we try to do, I think firstly it's homey, not clinical. That's important to us. And it's about being equality is important. So I just mentioned something that it isn't, and it isn't about segregating people based on their age or their condition or their social status. So lack of segregation is 100% what we believe in. It's something that promotes social engagement and meaningful engagement, and what we try to do is make that sort of not one-dimensional, so people have the opportunity to meet people of different ages, of different backgrounds, and that public access really helps. It's also a place where we try to facilitate knowledge sharing and experience sharing, and also give people the opportunities to build new knowledge, new experiences, and still create and take part in sort of things that we all get a chance to take part in. And I think the final thing I'd say is, in an inclusive community to us is one that is shaped by the people that live and work within it, and also by its place. So our villages are sort of in relatively sort of dense urban areas, which all have a history, a context. So I'd like to think that if you come to one of our villages, you get a different culture, a different feel, and that's made up of the people that live there, the people that work there, and the place that it's from. So that's it, and lovely to meet all of you.
Thanks so much, Martin. Beautiful, beautiful. Suellen, am I pronouncing your name correctly?
You are, Suellen.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that.
Thanks.
I'm
Suellen Beatty, and I am the CEO Emeritus of Sherbrooke Community Centre in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. And I'm also the Eden Global Partner for Western Canada. And so I've done lots of Eden training. And we started that Eden journey way back in 1998. So we had done an amazing job of creating this vibrant, diverse community. We had a child daycare way back then. We have a grade 6 class permanently based there. Lots of plants and pets, and had really done a great job, except we had 80 people living behind locked doors. And so we realized that this big community was inclusive of everybody but them. And so we started the process of unlocking our doors, which we have successfully done. And how we did that was really through a lot of learning circles, discussions, educations. We had created fear in everybody because, you know, if people are behind locked doors, there must be something to be frightened of. So what those people were missing out on is sort of being, you know, free, respected members of the community who could be connected to other people and the things that were important to them, to actually be known in the community and to have all those meaningful opportunities. And we tried to get people out as often as possible to bring them to events and include them. But when you're behind a locked door, and we had great thanks to Dr. Al Power, who prodded us on, we started unlocking those doors. And my 12-year-old granddaughter, she's going to a new school in about a month. And I said, what do you hope to find there? And I said, is it like an inclusive community? She said, yes. And I said, well, what is that? She said, well, I hope I belong there. And I hope there's people with similar interests to me and that they include me and that they're tolerant of each other and kind and loving. And I said, you know, that's exactly what we want to create in these places for everybody. We at first started calling this dementia friendly. And then one of our astute managers, Robin Kitchen, said, we aren't a bank, we aren't a grocery store. We are dementia friendly, but we're not inclusive. So we labeled this initiative Dementia Inclusive. And then she said, and why would we single dementia people out? Like people living with dementia, we've just got to call it an inclusive community. So we worked really hard on this. And I think it's really wonderful that everybody is welcome in our community. But it really takes a lot of education and building tolerance and love and respect. So that's my contribution.
Thank you so much, Suellen. I want to comment on all of your introductions, but I'm not going to today because we need to hear as much from you all as possible. Pat, you're up. You've got the floor.
Hey, thank you. I started working in aging services 50 years ago and was involved in the elimination of physical restraints in nursing homes in the country, which unfortunately is now being replaced with segregating and locking people up. I retired from full-time work in 2021 and continue to consult and advocate for inclusion. For the last 30 years, I served as the CEO of Carol Woods. It's a retirement community in North Carolina, offering everything from independent cottages throughout to skilled nursing. It's totally inclusive. On a personal note, my father had Alzheimer's. My mother had vascular dementia, and I just lost my eldest brother who was living with dementia. So I've experienced the family side as well as the operational side. during my entire career of 46 years, I refused to tie people up or to segregate them based on diagnosis or to lock up anyone living with dementia. And no one ever died in those time periods, and I never got sued. And I'm telling you this because inclusion and unlocked doors is not a pipe dream. It absolutely is a reality. For me, an inclusive community, and Carol Woods worked years on trying to define what the elements of that might look like. It welcomes diversity and accepts differences. It's based in love and kindness. All the members are welcomed and belong. Autonomy, dignity, and rights are upheld. Individual well-being needs are honored. Work toward eliminating all of the negative stigmas and break down any interpersonal barriers. We believe that consistent assignments will foster meaningful relationships and a total commitment to collective problem solving and participatory decision-making involving everyone. And that means the board and the staff and family members and elder neighbors and persons living with dementia being at the center with a full voice. It's strength-based focus. It's flexible in its operational processes because individual needs are ever changing, and so operational processes need to do the same. It provides every single member, be it a resident or staff, an opportunity to learn, to contribute, to grow, to be honored. And we believe that it must strive to be an integral part of the larger community. So that's how we described inclusive communities. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Pat. Jill, it's your turn. Floor is yours.
Kia ora. My name's Jill, and I've had the last 17 years as CEO of Elizabeth Knox Home and Hospital. And we were New Zealand's first fully registered Eden alternative home. I think that the sense of belonging that comes out of focusing on trying to demolish institutionalisation can't be understated. I know we're all bound up with institutionalisation because it's part of the model we have to work in. But I just saw so much growth in people when they were given an opportunity to live in a community where they were respected, where they were listened to, and it was regardless of abilities. It was a completely open home, so we didn't have any secure units. The Eden Alternative has provided that vehicle for culture change, and in my experience, that even in spite of the size, you can create households where the team have a strong sense of belonging. Residents and family feel part of that community and own the community, and the reassurance is to be able to go around and see that each home is a reflection of the people that are living in it. Where plants, animals, children are all part of the daily fabric of life, and that there's a real sense of equality. And it doesn't matter whether your voice is a loud one or a quiet one. You still get to make the critical decisions in your life. So I think the focus for us on growth and being well known was never underrated, and that included the team. And having parents in care myself, the loving relationships that can be formed between team members and the recipients of care are where human growth really has got to start, because people feel safe. And if you don't feel safe, you're just going to have a miserable existence. So for me, an inclusive existence has meant creation of a really good physical environment for that to occur as well. That's about it. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jill. All right, is Rodney here?
Yes, I'm here.
You got the
Hi,
floor.
everyone. Thank you. I'm Rodney Jilek. I'm the Managing Director of Community Home Australia, and more recently, the Managing Director of an Indonesian company called CHA International Resorts. Nicole and I, many of you are well aware of our story, but Nicole and I started Community Home Australia in Canberra in Australia. And it really, the entire organisation works on the basis of inclusion, empowerment, accessibility and respect. And what our driving force is really around normalness, or a sense of normality. So I'll pick up what Jill just said around institutionalization and the institutional settings and systems that many of us work under. We've been incredibly fortunate in Australia to be able to leverage our disability service side of the country and start a completely deinstitutionalized way of supporting people living with dementia. We started particularly with younger onset dementia, but have now expanded across a whole range of disabilities, because everyone came to us and said, hey, you've got this great program for people with younger onset dementia. We don't have anything like that. Can we join your village? And so it's grown and grown. All of our houses are embedded in normal communities. They're normal residential houses that have just been retrofitted. And the guests that stay there basically participate in all of the everyday activities that you and I do. They help clean and maintain the house. They look after the pets. They go shopping. They do cooking. They're involved in everything, and it's just so removed from the institutional ways of a nursing home, a traditional nursing home, and it just works, which is fantastic. We've recently, as some of you know, and some of you have just come back from, purchased a resort in Bali in Indonesia, and we are now the first disability provider or aged care provider that owns an international resort that caters for people with support needs. So it's still a mainstream resort. We were very, very particular that we didn't want to create a leper colony. We didn't want to segregate people. It's not a disability only resort. And it's a welcoming place that people can come no matter what the level of support they require. There's nurses on staff. We've got doctors and hospitals available. And so everyone from children to elders can come there knowing that there's a level of safety and a level of security and support that's just not available elsewhere. But that's really us. So thank you.
Thanks, Rodney. All right, Nicole.
Oh, hello. Well, Rodney's given you a great introduction of what Community Home Australia is. Obviously, I was inspired by Al Power. I have to get that shout out. And 9 years ago, when I wrote to him about my budding inspirations about doing it differently, as I was a frustrated nurse manager in a nursing home, and David Sherd and Kit Wood and all of these amazing brains, I could go on and on. I digested everything there was out there, and then with Rodney spat out this model that you see today. So it's a mesh of everything good that we'd ever heard and read and absorbed. And really, I'll probably talk about what the model is at a different angle. So we believe that everybody deserves a seat at the table, regardless of their diagnosis, and it's our job to get them there. So we flex around them, not the other way around. I've done plenty of years in the aged care sector and taken all my lessons of how we do it wrong. So I think I've done the opposite with my amazing team and Dr. Rodney, and now we're getting it right. So we have a day program. I don't believe it's a dementia program. I call it a community centre with a dash of dementia. You can have whatever diagnosis you like there. I now have single mothers dropping in. I have refugee women coming and after school for a snack. We build furniture for single mothers and restore it together as a group. And then we drop it to the house, and Kit would just be having like a little happy moment every time he sees one of our programs, because we have built purpose back into people's lives. Not all have them have dementia, and we are closing the circle, which is what I always imagined it could be. So I focus heavily on leadership. I love my team so they love the guest. It's pretty simple. Oh, my battery's going out for some reason, sorry. And if I focus on them, they will focus on what we need to do. So everyone I hire, I give permission to show me how they do it in Nepal, show me how you do it in Punjab. Don't let me lead the way because we've been getting it wrong for so long. So I make my team the experts the minute I onboard them and ask them to show me how to regain that connection that we lost as a Western culture, you know, so long ago when we built big houses and moved away from each other. So I really do focus on the fact that if I let people be their best selves, they will actually do that. They'll do that anyway. But I could go on and on. And like Suellen, I'll have to agree with you. If we keep calling it a dementia community, we're always going to get it wrong. We should just be building communities now. The D word almost needs to go away. So that's how we do it at CHA. And thank you for having me here today. This is just amazing to see all these thought leaders that have done it, have walked this path before.
Thanks, Nicole. Erin, I'll pass it over to you and let you make the way for the Q&A.
Good morning, everyone. So I just did a quick summary of the chat just to lead us into the Q&A. Some amazing comments in here. I haven't got the last 5 minutes, but I'll just give you a quick summary. So the common thought, the most mentioned word with regards to what community means to everybody that was passed out to is connection. So many of you highlighted the importance of connection and relationships within the community. The second one was belonging, and that was a common theme throughout all of people's comments throughout. Inclusion and support were the next, so it's just the top 4. There were also some great mentions to interdependence, wholeness overall, and kindness and contribution. Pick out any particular message. Many people had short and concise messages, which very much appreciate. So one last comment, sorry, quickly that I took here was, I just thought it was quite interesting if you consider the actual meaning of community overall. It is a group of people living in the same space or having a particular characteristic in common, and a feeling of fellowship with others as a result of common attitudes, interests, and goals. And yet we have looked at that inclusion side of things, connection and belonging, which is more of probably the important part. So just some interesting thoughts to lead into for our Q&A this morning. I will pass back to the questions if you'd like to lead them out to the group.
I think I saw Leah's hand up first, and then Monique had a hand up, but I don't have everyone's cam screens available. So if you do have a question, please do put your hand up or put it in the chat. Gary has a question. Thanks, Gary.
Can you hear me? Sorry, I'm just making sure. Yeah, we've got a problem here, and I work for Dementia New Zealand, and we cover pretty much 70–80% of the country with a lot of dementia advisors who, in a clinical sense, are providing advice in the communities. So everything from diagnosis through to when they end up in a care facility. So a lot of education, a lot of talking to people. The D word does stand out. It's sort of a stigma attached to that. A lot of people refuse to get a diagnosis because of the fear. And you work into any aged care facility and you mention dementia and they run a mile. So we as a brand have realized that our name sometimes repels people. We've got an opportunity going forward to amalgamate ourselves and our regions into a new organization, potentially without the D word. So open to ideas about how we can do that, because we're no different to any other charitable organizations like Cancer Society or Parkinson's Society. We name ourselves after the affliction or the disease or the thing that we're trying to help with. So how do we do that carefully without losing, our core purpose, which is essentially looking after people living with dementia?
Gary, in Indonesia, I found it really interesting. Last year, we worked with a company called the Hobie Club, which is Rodney, help me here, a Danish group.
Finnish, almost close.
Group, and They declined to use the word dementia. They use neurocognitive disorders, and we had to call it NCDs while we were working with them. So it's funny how some people are understanding that dementia word needs to go and then trying to replace, but that's also another word with
well, yeah, unfortunately they're using the Māori term mati wari wari in New Zealand, which is a bit of a mouthful. Mati wari wari means basically memory loss. And so they use the term dementia and mati wari wari, and it becomes quite a tongue twister to spill out of your mouth when you're describing the thing that you want to talk about. So that's that.
Yes.
We went to a solution to using different languages. It doesn't really work either.
Any ideas on the floor with all these amazing people?
I was actually going to say something, because in the end, when you replace something with another word or another term, yes, inclusive, positive terminology is a must, but you know, we're just replacing one label with another.
Yeah.
And you know, people that are different are to be celebrated, and people with cognitive changes are just as important as everyone else, and nothing can take away their human rights. And the utilization of labels is always something that I really find difficult, because it conditions people to then be influenced into thinking about people in a certain way, and often that can be really negative. So a lot of what I do is trying to smash that stereotype and stigma and get rid of the labels and the judgment calls and the prejudicial bias that comes along with labels like that. Yeah.
Could I say something to it, Nicole?
Yes, please. Yes, please, Dolph.
It strikes me a bit, well, it is a bit of a different way of working, I guess, but you always talk, most of you are talking about dementia villages and creating a community into dementia villages, and that's very much okay. But I think the real challenge is that how you can make dementia socially accepted, challenge, let me say, because we are going to lose all our nursing homes for dementia. People have to live in society with dementia, and the big challenge for us and for me and for colleagues of mine is that the community has to accept what dementia really is, because there's a lot of fear about what dementia is. There's shame about dementia. There is trying to hide it about dementia. But in the end, there's so many people living with dementia in not too many years ahead of us that we can't live without people with dementia between us. And that's what I meant about the golden layer of civilization. You have not only to accept it, but accept people as being valuable people, living a dignified life and having their space and their room in a normal community. And a community is a village, a real village where everybody lives, is a part of a city where people really live. And that's where it's that most about. We did a lot of things for people with all kinds of disabilities, and we integrated them, and they live in small homes in the corners of our streets, apart from people in dementia. And they live at home, and it is the partner who is focused, is left alone, I must say, with the problems. And that's got to change. The neighbor has got to step in. People around the corner have to step in. The shop owner has to have an idea of what dementia is, and not only in general, but specifically for his or her client. And that's what we are trying to work on. It is a huge challenge, but it has to be done, because you can't build dementia villages, I think, forever. And not everyone can afford them anyway, because I don't know how it is in your communities, but dementia is going to be a social disease as well. It is for people who have low income, bad food, smoking, and whatever health problems they have, who have a bigger risk of getting dementia than people who understand how to live healthy, eat healthy, can pay it, afford it, etc. And that's where we have to go and do something about it. It is part of community. 1 out of 5 elderly people are going to become affected with some kind of cognitive challenge, and mostly it is dementia. So that's what I'm trying to work on and trying to focus on, really not opening the doors literally, but opening the doors to community as well. And well, that's what I want to try to add, because it is not only the challenge of opening the doors in a nursing home, but opening the doors in the community as well. And that's what community is. And it is difficult, absolutely. And that's why I say there's civilization, and there is a golden layer above civilization that's taking care of our elderly people who took care of us all their lives. And now it costs us some energy to have them accepted in community as well. For that.
Thank you.
Dolph, you're now one of my fans, by the way. I started with Alan and I started with David and lots of other people, but you're one of my fan clubs now as well. I just wanted to let you know that everything you say is like magic to my ears. Sorry, I just had to interject there, Aaron, and have a little moment with
You're right.
admiration.
All good. So Pat, I noticed you've got your hand up. I might just pass to you for a response to Gary's. If anybody has any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat as well, or raise your hand, and we'll move around the panel. Over to you, Pat.
Yeah, so I'm listening to everybody talk about dementia in terms of a label, and you know, I wonder if what the crux of the real issue is if it isn't embedded in ageism. You know, we talk about persons living with cancer. We talk about persons with autism. We talk about persons with disability. But as soon as we say dementia, all of a sudden there is a negative stigma. And part of that negative stigma is how we've treated persons living with dementia. And so I think we have, it's this bigger mega issue of ageism that we're dealing with. And how to breathe the honor into elders, and really begin to look at that. So, you know, I started saying persons living with cognitive changes, because then it opens it up to a wide variety. But still, I think we've done ourselves a disservice by the way we've treated persons living with dementia, putting them behind locked doors or tying them up, or treating them as if they don't have a voice as soon as they get the diagnosis. So I think it's more of a processes question rather than a semantics question.
Thank you, Pat. Bryce, I know you've got your hand up. Also, I just know Bobby's written a few comments in the chat. So Bobby, I might pass to you. I'll let Bryce quickly respond. Sorry, Bryce.
Just a comment, really. I really appreciated what both Dolph and Pat had to say. I guess I find it a tightrope walk for me here as a GM of a community. We have people living with dementia or cognitive impairment across all of our neighborhoods, and they have a name. And we support Doug and John and Jean and Elaine wherever they are on their journey. And they're welcome to live where they choose, really. And I find what's most influential often is it's the families, it's the assessors in the community that are determine what they think is a fit. We're involved in a collaborative effort when they get to our doorstep. But I feel I talk more about dementia and feel the need to talk more about dementia to drive changes to promote inclusivity. Because if you're just talking about inclusivity, I love it. And that's where I want it to go and be a future state. But I do think it's a journey, and it's going to take some time still before we can all feel that people, and you know, we're able to make the change we're looking for, with it being the elephant in the room, really. But we'll keep working on it. I'm determined to join you on the fight and advocacy for change. So thank you.
Thank you, Bryce. Bobby, I'll just pass to you if you wanted to say some comments, if you have to.
Yes, thank you. I'm living with dementia. I live in the community, And, you know, I agree with everything you're saying, Pat, you know, your thing around ageism. I see I'm in my 70s and my friends, as soon as they do something wrong, it's kind of, oh my God, don't tell me I'm having dementia. And I say, well, I don't think you are, but if that's the worst, don't worry about it. And I believe that there's just a fear, and I believe it's age related. But I find that the only way to sort of break it down is to talk about it whenever I have the opportunity. And people, you know, as soon as there's an indication of anything, I just say, look, you know, I have dementia and I'm leading a really good life. I live at home alone on my own. Most of the time I manage, I get friends help me, and I have aged care services that help me with things that I can't manage, but mostly I do. And I think just being able to talk about it, my taxi drivers in the area, I reckon they're the best educated taxi drivers on dementia in the world. They all know now, and I'm called the dementia lady, and I don't care, because if they can sort of say it, you know, as a friendly term, then that's what we want. We want people to not be afraid to say the word. So if I start saying, don't call me the dementia lady, you know, that's awful, then I'm stigmatizing myself. So yeah, let's not be afraid of the word. Let's just treat it as, you know, this is something that happens to people, and it's fine. Let's talk about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby. That's beautiful. If there's no other questions, I'll just take one from the chat. Caroline, I note that Nicole sort of mentioned back here as well that we probably just need to do a session solely on this, but I'll post it out to the group. So how do you maintain well-being of staff teams with regards to approach of workforce development? How do you recruit staff to stay the long term, and how do you create a space for creative problem solving? All in this context. Pat?
So I think that this is the key to successful organizations, is to really understand that everybody is equal. And breaking down the hierarchy in an organization is absolutely critical so that all voices are honored and heard. I've always enjoyed longevity among the staff, and just like your residents, you have to know who they are and develop relationships with them, give them the tools that they need in order to do their job, give them flexibility to change practices when in the moment they see that they need to be changed. Make sure that you have a complexity of decision making, so that there's not one person in that hierarchy making decisions, but it's the input of everybody that is helping to form that decision, because then that way no one is standing alone making the wrong decision. It's a collectively wrong decision, which is great because you learn from your failures. So I believe how you treat your staff and how you value them and how you respect them is how they in turn will value the people that you serve in your organizations. I don't think that you can separate the two of them.
I so agree, Pat. I think also we could do a whole session on recruitment and workforce, but really we set the tone from the moment we say hello to them, and anything they're doing wrong. We have something that we do at Community Home Australia, we blame up. So if you make a mistake on the floor as a carer or any other role, the leader above you says, what did I do wrong? What system can I put in place that this person has made this mistake? We get them to write a reflection piece, and we move on as a no blame learning organization. And it's incredible how people say when they feel like they're not going to get in trouble, it really changes the way that they talk to you and collaborate with you. And if one of my leaders, my managers, has made a mistake, I'm to blame. And it goes all the way up to Rodney. Rodney can say, you know, that's my issue that Nicole didn't have the skills to do that role. So I think when you really do break down the essence of contributing to a positive workforce, which is also anti-racism, anti-bullying, anti-gossip. There's so many more. Like, please do an hour. But really loving your team and giving them permission to love the minute they're onboarded, the love word, really does help you have less wounds, less falls, less urinary tract infections. And if we can just piece together that clinical side and that love, because I never felt where I fit in as a nurse who loved everybody, I felt a bit ostracized. It really is the connecting tool, loving your team, loving your guests, and everything else falls into place.
Awesome. Thank you, Nicole. I believe there was a question from Al Power, but I'm also mindful Suellen's just chucked a hand up. So I'll pass to Suellen first to respond.
You know, I agree so much with what Pat and Nicole have both said. And, you know, how you treat your staff is the way that they're going to treat the residents. And providing them with a place where they feel a sense of belonging and they're connected, they're significant, they're loved, they matter. That's the place where staff stay. At Sherbrooke, we have really enjoyed a 90 to 95% retention rate over 20 years. So it's really like we've got lifer people there because they belong and they know that they make a difference. So I think it's really, really important. You know, we have a small house model, and the staff who work in those houses are just part of the household. And, you know, it's like their place. It's where they belong. And when you consider that they spend the majority of their waking hours at work, it's really, really important that they're having joy and connection and meaning and opportunities to grow. So, you know, I always think empowerment is the secret sauce of the Eden alternative. And every bit of effort we put into nurturing and loving our staff comes back tenfold. And so, yeah.
Thank you, Suellen. Are there any other panelists, or Dr. Howard, would you like to jump in now if there's...
No questions. I'm just listening and reflecting. That's all.
Okay, cool. Any other panelists would like to comment? Martin?
Yeah, no, just add one final thing. I think it's, you know, and I absolutely agree with everything that Suellen, Nicole, Pat said. But I think just to build on what Nicole said, as well as sort of permission to love, I think it's permission to enjoy yourself and have fun. I think that, you know, if you want to create that sort of environment for the people you support, just in all the other ways around that you support your team, you've got to show them that it's okay to have, you know, enjoy yourself, have some fun, you know, joke, and, you know, that's part of the culture I think we're trying to create into, you know, the normality, the homely feel, the communities. You don't get that without that side of it. So I think, yeah, we try to encourage that as well.
Thank you. Jill?
I think all of that is absolutely the pearls, really, isn't it, about valuing the team? But it is about, you have to do the hard stuff, and that's flattening the structure. And you have to make certain you've enabled people to make the decisions close to residents. So people have the tools of enablement are always, you know, it's making sure people are well trained, that there is you have to support good teamwork, and there's nothing will kill teamwork faster than weak leaders who don't address some of the other things that go wrong in the environment, because institutionalization and control are just trying to kick their way in through that front door all the time, and it's sometimes quite difficult managing those dynamics. And I do believe that the leadership in aged care, in this country particularly, it's got to be the hardest job, especially clinical managers. Clinical leaders, they have the most difficult job. And so it's understanding how they can, it's putting lots of effort into making certain those people are protected and well positioned to do their job really well, and that's supporting their team and growing their team.
Amazing. Thank you, Jill. Monique, pass to you. And then Lisa, I believe you had your hand up as well.
Gosh, I've got so much I want to say. I have to pick and choose. I think what's really important too is the idea of shared care too, ensuring that family and community are included from the beginning. And also, Bobby, about what you said too about using the word and around the destigmatisation, a story to share from this week in speaking to someone from an independent living here in Australia, who shared that the management team had shared at a residents meeting that they wanted people from aged care and memory care to come and join in with everyone at cards, at Friday drinks. And the reaction has been, no way, we're going to become babysitters. And I was just shocked. So I think that education and that knowledge needs to start with, it's everyone. And we need to look at the different areas and the narrative that they need. And that goes back, Suellen, to what you said, that we have locked people away. And so we do that because they've done something wrong. There's something not right with them. And people were scared. People going, well, yeah, we just need to change. There's so much for us to do. And yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Thanks, Bonnie. Lisa, I'm just mindful of time. I'll pass to you. We've just got about a minute left before we go to...
I was trying to make some key points, but honestly, I've run out of paper. I've been scribbling. I'm on like 4 pages by now, trying to think of all the amazing things we spoke about, and just really wonderful conversations around meaningful interactions. I think Nicole said, everyone deserves a seat at the table, talking about dementia as a social issue and a bigger than the communities they're in, and about actually themes of normalization, connectedness, I guess people giving and receiving, and I guess having value. That's kind of really the key things I kind of, amongst all the many other notes I made, which was phenomenal discussions around inclusive communities, and then how we expand into the word dementia, and then actually, a bit like Gary said, do we rename it, but actually recognizing it's not the word, it's maybe around the connotations or the associations with the word dementia that we maybe need to look at, and how we look at society and breaking down stigma. So much amazing content. I have literally got reams of notes. So that's my summary of amazing discussion. So I want to say thank you to all the speakers and the contributors. Great to continue this conversation on our website. We've got a page you can come to, and you can add your comments and blogs and some feedback. We welcome that. We've got a newsletter that will follow this today, so we'll get sent a newsletter. And then hopefully, in March, we've got another amazing session coming up. So we've got an OTD global meeting, so Dementia Care of the Future, where we'll have Beth Nolan from Positive Approach to Care, and Jason Burton, who's got a very long title, Executive Director, Dementia Training Australia. Dementia Training Australia, for people that don't know, is an amazing training organisation that do, even if you're not in Australia, you can access their training, which is great. So they do some really, really good training, and he's going to, the Dementia Training Australia is a consortium funded by the Australian government to provide high quality education and training on people who have dementia. So I would advise, if you're not in Australia, you can still go and have a look and see what they do, because it's really, really good training. So that's us for today. So good evening, good night, good afternoon, good morning, whichever you